Hello and welcome to the Farming Today podcast. I'm Kaz Graham, and in this edition we hear about measuring the environmental impact of farms by drone. And if you're ordering festive food, don't forget your local farmers market. We're dropping into one a little later, and who knows, you might just learn something new.
The questions are becoming more and more basic, and just some of the simple questions like how do we cook a sausage? We realise as farmers market vendors that we've got to help them if they want to understand what good food is all about.
First up today, though, we are off to a dairy farm in South Wales. All this week, we're talking about the dairy industry. And Cilurgi Farm near Pontypool is a dairy farm with a difference. It's owned by the Prison Service and it forms part of Prescoed Open Prison. Prison inmates work alongside the farming team to learn skills and help care for the cows. And post-release, some of them do go on to have careers in agriculture. Marie-Claire Carey-Jones has been given access to the farm and she started her visit with Richard Goff, who is the farm manager.
We're standing on the yard here and it looks like a typical farm, but this place is a bit different, isn't it?
It's a great place for prisoners to learn how farming works, how milk's produced, and gain essential skills which will help them go on to work on release. The farm here is a commercial farm. We have a contract to produce milk for Tesco's. That contract obviously comes with lots of stipulations, so we have to abide by all the rules and regulations and the litrage as well.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I'm one of the prisoners that works here at the dairy. I think it's quite an interesting job. I've got no experience of farming, so yeah, it was a change of scenery for me. Plus it keeps you busy. Dealing with the animals is quite fun.
And is this something you see yourself doing once you've been released?
A couple of lads are talking about it. Some of them have got farming backgrounds already, so it's not a big jump from what they're used to, you know. I've got my HGV licence, so hopefully I'll be driving when I get out.
You've also been driving some of the farm machinery here. Does that help in your career progression?
It's all good stuff to have on your CV.
There's farm vehicles driving around and people working with the cattle, and someone who knows just how busy it can get here at Cilurgi Farm is a former prisoner who worked here while they were doing their sentence and is now himself working on a farm. I'm not going to name you for our listeners because you've done your time, but can you tell me what you did while you were here?
I was doing a bit of milking, working with the calves. I was bedding down the cows. I've done pretty much a variety of work.
And obviously you've taken this one step further, so you've left the prison service now and you're working on a farm. Tell me what's that like and what you do.
I'm working on a bigger scale, milking just nearly shy of 400 cows. And I do a variety of jobs again down there. I'm doing silaging, sitting on a tractor and trailer, and the boss has currently allowed me to live on site whilst working.
So do you think you've got a bright future now?
Yes, my future is to go further again to try and sustain my own farm. I would say I'd like to go into dairy, maybe a bit of arable.
And I hope you really succeed.
Thank you.
Well, it seems to be feeding time here. We've got the mothers and the calves munching away on the hay. And also in here is Dr. Libby Payne, who's a forensic psychologist. Libby, you've been doing some research about the perceived impact of this prison dairy on the prisoners and the staff that work here. So what were the findings of your work?
One of the main findings really related to the bonding and attachment that the staff observed in the men that were working with the dairy cows, and they were starting to see the prisoners taking that on and working with that same care and compassion actually towards the animals.
Having those skills, what sort of a difference is that likely to make in terms of stopping them reoffending?
Yes, I mean this was exploratory research and we know that we need to do a lot more work, but from the study that I led we can see a number of benefits. Dairy workers have to behave calmly, they have to work as a team. If men are coming up here and feeling like farm workers and not prisoners, that can only be a really, really helpful thing for their future.
That report from Marie-Claire Carey-Jones. Agriculture accounts for around 12% of greenhouse gases in the UK, according to DEFRA. And new post-Brexit farming policies across the devolved nations and in England are heavily geared towards improving the industry's environmental footprint. To that end, a new £2.5 million pilot project is being launched today, aiming to measure the environmental impact of farms. It's being run by the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, or AHDB, and Quality Meat Scotland, and around 170 farmers are taking part, having their land scanned by something called LiDAR. I asked Chris Gooderham, Environmental Director at the AHDB, what LiDAR is and what it can tell farmers.
So LiDAR scanning is effectively, it's a laser beam, so it works a little bit like radar. So we will fly a plane or a drone over the farm. That will fire down laser beams at the land below. Those will bounce off whatever they hit and come back up to the plane or the drone, and that will measure a number of things for us. So it'll measure where the trees and the hedges are, so it will give us a measurement for the above ground biomass. But some of those beams will also get down to the ground. They'll bounce back off the ground, and that will give us a lie of the land as well.
And so how much information are you going to get from that will be able to inform you about the carbon levels on each particular farm?
So it'll give us a really good idea of how much above ground biomass there is, which we'll be able to convert into a kind of carbon stocks above ground. We can also use that to estimate how much is in the roots underneath the ground as well. But it's not just the carbon that it will give us a measurement for. So the lie of the land will tell us where there's risks in heavy rainfall for the water running off and flooding, or either flooding the land or running off into the watercourses.
I know that you say that you're hoping that it will comprehensively measure the environmental impact of farms across Great Britain. How accurate is it, really? I mean, is that not a rather ambitious statement about it?
You can do this LiDAR scanning at different levels of granularity. We'll be measuring 16 points every square metre. And the reason for doing that is from looking at some of the work that they've already done in Northern Ireland, and also what they're doing through their Soil Nutrient Health Scheme work in Northern Ireland. That seems to be the optimum in terms of the amount of data you get versus obviously the cost to do it, and being able to convert that information into something that's useful for the farms.
You've got 170 farms taking part. What are those farmers going to find out about their own farms from the LiDAR studies?
As well as doing the above ground biomass, we're also going to do some deep core sampling of the soils. We're going to do some soil nutrients. We're going to send them all through one common carbon calculator, and they'll come up with action plans off the back of that. So it's piecing all this information together to give them the starting point being a net carbon position for their farm. So we're putting a lot of measurements into the carbon stocks, and therefore giving us an estimate on the sequestration and the potential to store more carbon, as well as looking at their emissions, and then using that to say, how can we use this data to make better, more informed decisions on the farm to improve the situation, and look at the areas where potentially there's financial gains to be had, as well as a net carbon improvement to be made. Over the course of the kind of next 12 months, we'll be gathering all of that information together for each of those farms.
Chris Gooderham from the AHDB. Now, it is a busy time of year for farmers' markets. In the run-up to Christmas, many of the farmers and growers who sell at them will be hoping for big orders for all those traditional festive favourites like cheese, turkey and gammon. Kendal Farmers Market, that is my local one, takes place twice a month. It's on today, in fact, and they've recently introduced a new stall. It's called their Food School. The idea is to help shoppers make the most of the meat or cheese or, say, farm-grown flowers that they can buy on the market, and also tell a story of how they're produced. I've been along to take a look.
Oyez! Oyez! I wish to commend to you a visit to the marketplace, there to behold a veritable cornucopia of the finest comestibles from Cumbria's famous farmers.
Kendal Town Crier with some proper old-fashioned advertising for today's farmers' market. Around 30 tempting food stalls with a small stage at one end.
So today what we're going to talk about is turkeys. It's coming up Christmas. Used to be the old traditional ones with the Norfolk bronze, big black turkey.
David Knipe produces free-range chickens and turkeys that he sells here, and he is first up for today's food school.
So I'll just show you how we do the crown. They're all twin needle truss with proper string. We truss it up, it gives it the Dolly Parton move, all up front on full show. Yeah. We can then do a butterfly. We can also do a French trim.
What do you think of the idea of this farmers market food school?
I think it's brilliant. To get the tips from the horse's mouth, as it were, is really very useful. Dare I say it, as a butcher's daughter? Yes, French cook, I've never heard of that.
My family, we love cooking and we're cooks. But anybody that's not great at cooking, they're going to get a lot of information, aren't they?
Well, the man who set this farmers market up some 25 years ago and who is emceeing, if that's the right word, the farmers market food school today is pig and wild boar farmer and food commentator Peter Gott. What is the idea behind this school, Peter?
I think in simple terms, education. We find people come to the farmers market and ask the questions, and over the years the questions are becoming more and more basic, and just some of the simple questions about how do we cook a sausage. We realise as farmers market vendors that we've got to help them if they want to understand what good food is all about. To be able to do a little simple 20-30 minute demonstration, talk, tasting, why not make shopping enjoyable? You want to have the gregariousness and you want to have a crack with people.
Right, so we've just sorted the turkey order out.
So fresh from his appearance on stage, I'm here with David Knipe. David, what difference does it make to you doing this farmers market school?
It's great. It's what we do from behind the stall anyway. But when we get people come in and they listen and they relax, and Peter is fantastic at prompting on. He asks the dum-dum questions that people are a bit shy at asking, and then suddenly once they've asked questions, they want to know more and more. And people are amazed. Oh, we didn't realise that's how it works. Everybody does a stint on it. We do 3 each market. People love that passion that's behind it.
So what we'll taste at the start is a young cheese. This is what we call a mild and creamy Lancashire.
Next up on stage is cheesemaker Graham Kirkham. He makes Mrs Kirkham's Lancashire with milk from his herd of around 100 milking Holstein Friesians just down the road in Goosner.
What we believe this resembles now, and what my mum says about it, it's just like what we used to make that. Just like what we used to make. I remember that. It's slightly crumbly, but also flaky and very buttery.
I think that was absolutely brilliant, very educational.
Yeah.
So we've learnt a lot, haven't we, to deal with that.
It's nice to know where the ingredients are coming from. It's nice to know how the animals are being kept. It's nice to know you're getting good stuff.
I've just come along to Graham Kirkham's stall. Do you sell more as a result of doing that, Graham?
You always do, don't you? I mean, people up here are so receptive, and we've had a really good laugh up there, haven't we? That was really good fun, and I really just enjoyed myself doing that. But when you walk off from where we've been doing the talk, I saw the queue off this stall. Of course it helps, yeah. And I think people come to this stall and they go, wow, look at this, you know. A lot of people haven't seen cheese in this natural raw state. So what we're looking at is whole cheeses cut in half, stacked up high. It's real. It's not in a packet. It's not got a fancy label on it. It's all about the natural raw product, and that's what we do, and that's what it's about.
It's real, and they can see you're real as well, the real life cheesemaker on display.
Well, somebody once said to me, is Mrs Kirkham real? And I said, yeah, it's me mum. And they couldn't believe it. He said, is it not like the Kiplings or a made-up name where it's a name and not a person? I'm like, no, she's actually real. She's made it all her life, you know, and now I'm doing it. Yeah, we're not made up.
That's cheesemaker Graham Kirkham at Kendal Farmers Market. Well, since I recorded that report, there's been some really sad news. David Knipe, the turkey farmer who we heard from just there, lost his life last week in an accident on his Cumbrian farm. His family were very keen that David should still be part of today's programme. Promoting local food and farming at farmers markets, agricultural shows and basically any other opportunity was just a huge part of his life, and he'll be much missed by both the agricultural community and the many customers he's shared a joke and a smile with over the decades. And that's all from us for today. I'm Kaz Graham. The producer in Bristol is Alan Beach, and Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.